What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about Rocksteady and Suicide Squad kill the Justice League yet again. And the game is being blamed for quite a big failure at WB. So what I want to try to center this video on is, should we start to worry about them? Now, we've definitely talked about this before, but obviously, actually, a lot of things have happened even this week. Yes, not from WB, but from Xbox, right? And I think the general scope of the gaming industry continues to come into range, come into vision. I can't imagine that Rocksteady is completely, untouched from all of this stuff. There's a few things to remember that people have brought up before and people are bringing up today, which I think are very valid points. Number one, and probably the most important, is that, remember, at least I believe the rumor, heavy rumor, but it seems to be running as fact, it was the higher-ups at Rocksteady that decided to do this. It was not a WB executive that came down on them and said, hey, we need you to make a live service shooter. We want you to use the Suicide Squad. They didn't do that. From the talk around the town, it seems like Rocksteady's higher-ups at the time pitched this, and they wanted to do this themselves. That might come back to bite them pretty darn hard. So, to me, that's the biggest thing, right? Look, ultimately, how much of a soul do some of these executives have in the first place? But we've long talked about it's hard to place blame sometimes. It is, because the gaming industry is so non-transparent. No, everybody lies. We've been seeing that in the last couple of days. Everybody lies. Nobody tells the truth. You don't really know who makes key decisions anymore. In fact, maybe you never knew. It could be the studio, it could be the heads. But maybe internally, maybe they do know who's to blame, right? And sometimes if an executive tells them to do something and then it fails, maybe they don't go so hard on the studio because ultimately it wasn't their choice. Now, as we've seen the last 2 years, it seems like they just don't care. They're going to fire lay everybody off, destroy the team anyway. But maybe it does. For this specific case, even that one little caveat goes right out the window. They caused this themselves, and what happened because of that choice. I think that's pretty fair to say, is it not? So, okay, that's one big thing. Another big thing is, just like I said, when you look around the gaming industry and you see everything that continues to happen, how does a studio that does this not get impacted? We've seen studios that don't do things like this, that do positive stuff, get impacted. Even if a game, is said to sell well, like Hi-Fi Rush, that game gets destroyed, or that studio gets literally shut down, and that game was supposedly a success. Suicide Squad, so what's the news of today? Well, they're blaming Suicide Squad for a 200, now not fully, but pretty, a good amount of it. They're blaming Suicide Squad for a $200 million hit to revenue. Now, in their earnings report, they do bring up Hogwarts Legacy. They do, finally, for the love of God, they do admit that it's hard to repeat what they did last, basically spring or winter, whichever one you want to, I guess kind of both, to be honest with you, right? It's hard to repeat. Because Hogwarts Legacy, if you didn't know, was one of the highest selling games kind of all time. Maybe not top 10, but it takes quite a game to reach the levels that Hogwarts Legacy did in terms of sales, okay? We've been saying that for a while. It's very, very unfair to put Suicide Squad up against Hogwarts and say, yep, we expect the same revenue from both of them. That is insane. You have to be reprimanded, fired, whatever, if you're the person projecting and analyzing and you think that those two things are going to be the same. You need to be removed of your position, okay? However, in today's thing, they do say it. They do actually acknowledge, or maybe this was yesterday, but it's being reported on today, but they do say, we understand that, it's hard to repeat, especially for a Hogwarts Legacy 2 of this. However, they do then go on to say, hey, well, Suicide Squad didn't do good. This is a game that contributes significantly, to a $200 million hit to revenue. So, I don't know. I just can't imagine that all of this stuff comes back and that they don't look at it and say, we don't have to do anything. Rocksteady can remain completely untouched. Now, I guess for a lot of this video, I might be sounding like I really want Rocksteady to be severely punished. I don't want people laid off. I don't want, look, here's the thing. If you severely impact, or change or whatever Rocksteady, there's no guarantee that it becomes better afterwards. Do you make them a support team? And also, you have to think about it from, WB as well. This is one of their biggest teams. This is one of their most beloved, even though a lot of key talent has left. A ton, okay? And their last game in Suicide Squad was a giant disappointment to many and a literal failure to the executives, right? So you look at that and you say, well, like, what do you do? And it is actually kind of like an interesting question where it's like, if it was other studios of other companies, they might be shut down. But you have to think, like, Rocksteady is Rocksteady, even though the name might not be as powerful, even though, some of the heads have left. And I'm sure they've been bleeding talent since Arkham Knight. Like, the team, and I say this a lot, the team that made Asylum City Night, right? The gaming industry is all over the place. It's so volatile. People leave, contracts expire, all sorts of stuff. I can guarantee you, okay, without a shadow of a doubt, the team that made Arkham Asylum, and I mean some of like the small-time programmers, the level designers, things like that, I guarantee you 60+% of them are gone. I would imagine more than half the team that actually sat at that office, 200, 300, 400 people, however much it was, I guarantee you at least half have left in the last 10 years. It just is how the industry goes. So why I bring that up is like, is Rocksteady even Rocksteady anymore? You can make the argument it's not. It's got a legacy. It has the Arkham games forever, but the people that are there now might not be part of that legacy. Does that make sense? And that's a tough thing to figure out because, again, like, what are you supposed to do with them? Here's what I want. I want a redemption story. I want them to go back to what they're good at least maybe the people that are still there, maybe if there's anybody still there from the Arkham days, right? Or maybe new blood that comes in that says, hey, we're disappointed in what we did. Like, we failed, and we want to redeem ourselves. I like redemption stories, you know what I mean? Now, at the same time, you cannot make the same mistake. Like, you've got to rebound. I imagine, here's what I think. I really think you're probably going to get a trimming of the studio. I cannot imagine they don't fire anybody. I'm sure people are going to get laid off, okay? And then I would imagine they pivot. And although WB is so gung-ho on the live service, like every game's got to be it, I actually do think they're going to focus more on like a single player, maybe with like microtransactions, that are literally insane, but maybe they do some like a single player, whether it's Batman or maybe pick a different DC hero and do it something like that, right? Go back to the Asylum kind of formula and just, go back to what you're good at. Even if some of the people that are there, maybe they've never worked on an Arkham game, still go back to it. I believe that's the path. I cannot, and also, I guess to throw this in, can't imagine that Suicide Squad's going to last. Like, look at the situation. I can't imagine WB, who's blaming them for everything, how can they let them continue to sink resources into a game that nobody plays and nobody cares about, right? Like, I mean, take the emotion out of it, take your feelings of the game out of it. You look at what they are saying about the game. Why would a game that contributed so heavily to a bad quarter, and now a lot of things contributed to a bad quarter, but, that game, why would you let the studio still work on it? You could say redemption story and like maybe you can turn the game around. Let's be real. That's not going to happen. It's just not. I mean, you can hope for it. It's not going to happen. Suicide Squad is not going to turn around and get like 50,000 players playing it daily. That's not in this game's DNA, okay? So that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.